It is Sunday, the 21st of May, 2017. I'm in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, engaged in my alternative spiritual practice of protesting against Unitarian Universalist injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy. And we're just wrapped up a little monologue about how Queen's Counsel lawyer Kenneth Howard, that is Kenneth Howard QC, stole my picket signs back in the spring of 2001 and technically assaulted me during the commission of that theft, and how I had reported his theft and assault to the SPVM, and how he had been arrested for theft and assault, and how he had, used his legal savvy and perhaps his legal connections to wiggle out of the worst of it. But he nonetheless essentially copped a plea and was found, he was subjected to what's called non-judicial treatment for his criminal acts. His theft and assault were duly recognized as criminal acts by the justice system. And I believe what happened is, he didn't get a jail term or anything like that, but he was subjected to a peace order, and basically had to be a good boy for a year. If he did anything, in the year period following the signing of the peace order, that the theft and assault charges would come back to bite him in the ass, kind of thing. So that was, I think, the first time I ever called the SPVM to intervene as a result of something that happened at my protest. So this was, as I said, in the spring of 2001. So we're looking at, about 16 not so sweet years ago. And this is all about, going over the history of police interventions here. We just had the first intervention in over a year. The previous one was May 1st of 2016, May Day 2016. And actually the cops involved in that one were essentially less than professional as far as I'm concerned. They tried to intimidate me into ending the protest, claiming that church members were conspiring to bring more criminal charges against me. But this morning's intervention was just fine as far as I'm concerned. The police showed up very early. I was just starting to write chalk slogans on the sidewalk, and they pulled up behind me, and so I got up. They rolled down the window, or the window was already rolled down, and they started talking with me. They basically just asked if everything was okay, and did I know the rules and everything, and I said yes, and we discussed the fact that this has been going on for quite some time. So they knew it had been going on for quite some time. They knew that I do keep the camera rolling pretty constantly these days, largely as a result of having bullshit complaints brought against me by Montreal Unitarians. I need to protect myself from the false complaints brought against me by Montreal Unitarians. That's one of the reasons for keeping the camera running pretty much constantly. And of course the other reason is one other reason, not the only one, is to record any interactions with the police. So that's covered, so who said what is known. This, good day sir, thank you. Got a nice little salute from the guy going by on his bike. Basically I record police interactions as much as possible to, basically just have a good solid record of what was said during them, but also to show any dumb asshole. I'd say someone who calls a protester a dumb asshole is a dumb asshole, sir. You don't even know what I'm protesting. If you knew what I'm protesting, I don't think you'd call me a dumb asshole. Dumb asshole. So this guy walks by, calls me a dumb asshole. I do get the occasional negative response from the public, usually from a dumb asshole like that. Some willful ignorant jerk kind of thing. I've actually had, let's see, at least 3 positive reactions to that one negative reaction. The average is more like 8 or 9 positive reactions out of 10 reactions. So out of 10 reactions, at most 2 will be negative. It's actually closer to 1. So this guy's the exception to the rule in terms of reactions from the public. And he's basically a dumb asshole, even though he called me a dumb asshole. But anyway, getting back to the monologue we were in, explaining police interventions. This morning's intervention, the first in over a year, went very well indeed. I think the police knew that they were, being recorded and likely to even end up on YouTube. And I told them straight up, I said, I have in the past put up videos that say a polite professional SPVM intervention, because when it is polite and professional, I say so. When it upholds my rights instead of trying to repress them and suppress them, I say so. And these guys, there was a driver who I didn't really see, and then this younger guy at the window talking to me right about here. He was very good. He was polite. I'd even say friendly. We had a nice little chat, went over some of the issues. And the other thing that he did, which was good, is he reminded me, that if I had any problems, that I could call the station too. And I actually came back and said, yeah, I maybe should have called in September. I didn't say why, but I'd been assaulted by David Horan back in September. But for whatever reasons, I decided not to move ahead with assault charges against them. I figured the video's embarrassing enough, amongst other things. So anyway, this police intervention went really well. I had been planning to talk about police interventions today anyway, even if there hadn't been one, just because it, has been more than a year, or had been more than a year, since there'd been any kind of police intervention. Like, there was 0 SPVM police intervention between May 1st of 2016 and today, which is the 21st of May of 2017. So more than a year. A year and 3 weeks kind of thing. Between SPVM police interventions. And then the point of that is, well, isn't that interesting? Here I'm doing exactly what I've always done, displaying a few picket signs, a couple in each, one in each hand, some freestanding picket signs, some chalk slogans, one of which has been erased. But we'll go have a look at the other one. So that's it. I'm not doing anything different today than I've ever done. And there was a time, when there was actually quite a long period where I didn't even bother with chalk slogans. The chalk slogans are a comparatively recent, added protest measure. They're not super recent, but I'd say for the first 10 years of protesting, if not longer, that chalk slogans were absolutely minimal. It's only in the last, 5 or so years where I've really used chalk slogans, quite regularly when possible. So anyway, we had a nice little chat, and they went on their way. It looked just fine. As I said, 0 complaints about that police intervention, and I will note that, when I put the video up, because I do want to differentiate. I want to differentiate between the stupid and abusive, just plain foolish behavior of certain SPVM cops who basically do abuse their power in one way or another in efforts to try and, they think it's their job to shut down my protest, That's what they think, or it's their job to, dissuade me from protesting by giving me tickets and stuff, which is not in fact the case. So you get these little tin pot totalitarians, and then you get the reasonable ones. It's unfortunate, but there's too many of the overly authoritarian ones, and not enough of the polite professional ones, really. Anyhow, it went well this morning, so it ended the period of 0 police interventions, but we had a full year and 3 weeks approximately of 0 police intervention. And here's the point is like, if I can go through a year and 3 weeks with 0 police interventions in terms of, trying to dissuade me from protesting or whatever, in other words, not interventions, that I asked for, but interventions that the church sought, or which just happened spontaneously on the part of the police, which I think is probably rare. I think in most cases it's the police arrive and intervene because they've received a complaint from people at the church. Not quite sure what happened this morning. But in any case, good day, sir. Thanks for the wave. Oh, hi, yeah. Somebody I know. So yeah, I got another friendly wave. So that's like now at least 4 positive reactions from the public to my protest, to 1 negative one. From a dumb asshole, calling me a dumb asshole. In any case, getting back to the whole point of this, a whole year and 3 weeks went by with 0 interventions by the SPVM police, even though I'm doing nothing different than I've always done, which calls into question all of the previous, or not all, but the vast majority of all the previous police interventions never should have happened. There was no reason for them to happen. Well, yes, okay, the police were fed bullshit by Montreal Unitarians, but police should have bullshit detectors. I mean, they got radar and this and that. They should have reasonably accurate bullshit detectors, especially after there's been a few false, alarms, as it were, or false complaints called into the police. They should realize that they're being lied to, and they should just not intervene unless it's like something serious. And I think that's essentially what happened over the last year. I think the police finally realized, after years of being fed bullshit by Montreal Unitarians, that they were being fed bullshit, and they basically stopped intervening. It's also possible that they just told the church, look, you call in a false complaint and there's going to be serious consequences this time. We're not putting up with any more false complaints from you people. It is in fact a criminal act to call in a false report to the police. It's an act of public mischief, and it's rarely enforced. But I think the police were pretty well fed up with having to come to the Unitarian Church of Montreal as a result of complaints called in, false complaints especially, by Montreal Unitarians. False or frivolous. There's almost like 0 legitimate complaint that's ever been called in to the SPVM police by Montreal Unitarians. I can't think of a single time when I've done something that really warranted a police intervention. I don't think I've done anything of a criminal nature. I don't think I've done anything where I really should have been ticketed. I mean, I received a ticket for chalk slogans that I don't believe I should have been given. I don't think anyone in the country should be given a ticket for chalk slogans. I was in the process of writing a chalk slogan when the police showed up this morning, and they didn't question it. I think we finally established that it's within my constitutionally guaranteed civil rights to write chalk slogans. And so that took a while, I must say. Quite a few conversations with the police regarding that issue. But in the end, I think the police finally realized that it's either legal or should be, and that that if they give me a ticket for writing chalk slogans, I'm going to contest it, and I'm not going to mess around anymore. I'm going to take it right up to the Supreme Court if necessary. So guess what? No more tickets for chalk slogans. So anyhow, but that's the point. Is the huge gap between more than a year where there's 0 police interventions, even though doing everything that I've always done, no difference. I haven't toned anything down. basically, in fact, I'm doing more than I did at the beginning. At the beginning, I only had just a couple of picket signs, and that was it. So I've added more picket signs. I've added chalk slogans. I talk more than I used to. I used to be almost completely silent, but now, because I have to run video to protect myself from bullshit complaints called in by Montreal Unitarians, etc., I run a monologue, so I'm talking more. So I basically just run a monologue, so explaining the protests, and so it's not like total complete boredom to watch a guy walking back and forth on a sidewalk. It does explain what the protest is about, so various issues involved. And so anyway, getting back to the police interventions, I'm probably going to skip a bunch, but basically the police are intervening almost constantly at a certain point in the, I'd say the mid 2000s. And then what happened is Reverend Ray Drennan resigned, and they had to get a new minister. And so for 1 year they had Reverend Peter Boulata, a former member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, as the interim minister. And then the new minister, Reverend Diane Rollert, also known as Reverend Diane Olenek Rollert, became the new minister, was selected as the new minister. So I sent Reverend Diane Olenek Rollert a email or two telling her that, she should enter into dialogue with me, towards the end of resolving this dispute. I said that unfortunately the dispute was not resolved by the church, when Reverend Ray Drennan stepped down, and unfortunately Peter Boulata did absolutely nothing to resolve the dispute while he was interim minister, as I believe he should have done. When you're the interim minister, you're supposed to